Hello, this is James Hudnall and another episode of Creative Secrets. This one is about POV or point of view. This is a technique that is used very effectively in many stories, and I will tell you how it's done and what's the best way to handle it. There are many times in the story where you may want to show what the character sees through their own eyes. This technique, known as point of view, it's used for two purposes. It puts us in the head of the character so we can experience the way they experience things at any given moment in the story. It also shows us a different perspective meaning that the character has a limited view of things. So we're showing what they see and what they understand, so that we as the reader can get a grasp of how they are seeing the events in the story unfold. In prose, George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones, uses this technique for multiple characters in his Song on Ice and Fire books, aka Game of Thrones. Each chapter would provide the POV of one character, and they would show the world and story as they see it. I'm sure you've seen in movies and television what they call the cam shot, where a camera is affixed to a dog or some moving object that's small, and it's showing you a point of view of what it's seeing as it goes through a scene. That's called a camera POV, but it can also be used as a character POV. And sometimes they're used to give you a sense of an emotional crisis, so it's all shaky and weird. In comics, it's not unusual to have them in art in the panels reflect what the character sees as they're walking down the street or where they're having some experience. You can show what the character is experiencing, and it's all done from the aspect of what the character sees. Then you can do narration over that to give you a sense of what their thoughts are. The same thing can be done with film and television, where you can have a POV shot, but you can have the character do a voiceover to explain things, what they're thinking. POVs are not limited to visual points of reference. They can also do external POVs. This is done by having the character narrate the story, and what we are shown is the character's interpretation of the action. This is when you see a movie that's narrated, but you see external things happening that the character wouldn't see necessarily, but it's the character's narration explaining events that happened outside of things, and this is the character's understanding of how those events took place. The character also narrates the story from their personal perspective so that we get their personal character views. The secret of POVs is remembering that it's not only your view as the writer, but it's the character's personal view. That is the thing you have to remember. It's the character's personal view. Their opinions, attitudes, and perspectives should be layered in. It can be used as a characterization device, or it can be used as a means to show the horrible situation a character is in, or the positive one. It can be used to show how appalling the character's mindset is or how good it is. When you write from a character's POV, you must understand that the character is as if they were you. You must believe what they believe as you write them. In other words, you're not writing your story, you're writing their story. You must become the character for a time, even if that character is completely anathema to you. So if you're writing a character, let's say, who's a racist, you may not be a racist, but you have to convince us that your character is. In order to be a successful writer, you have to be able to get in the heads of those characters. You actually have to allow yourself to believe what they believe, and that's the best way to do it. You have to live inside their heads so you can understand why they think the way they do. That's why I said empathy is important. You have to really learn empathy if you're going to be a good writer. As we've discussed before, and when we talked about villains, everyone sees themselves as the hero of their own story. But as a writer, you must have the opportunity to show the errors in their thinking through the POV, their POV. You're allowing the audience to get inside their heads. Even if you agree with the character you're writing from that POV, you need to make sure that they come off the way they're supposed to, as humans with flaws. Otherwise, you're just doing nothing more than writing a tour guide, basically propaganda or PR. They need insight. We need insight during a POV. We need to understand what makes the character tick. We don't need the same old, same old. POV should never be wasted on generic views or scenes because it's a personal technique. You're giving us a personal view. It puts the audience in the mind of the character. So if you establish that experience, it should be not always be straightforward and uneventful. It should be relevant, because after all, every scene matters. So remember, POV is not your view, it's the characters. And that's it for this episode. My name is James Hudnall. Please check the links below. Please like this video if you could. Please tell your friends about this channel. I could always use more viewers, and I will talk to you later. Thank you.